Alrighty, friends, it is 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock on the dot, and it says I have a really good connection. I did turn up my microphone, so according to my audio mixer, it says that I am running at about 25 decibels. So that should be pretty good. You should be able to hear me. I had the microphone turned down because I've had a cough and I didn't want to cough into the microphone. The microphone sits right above me. So if you can hear me and you can see me, we are ready to go. Welcome to the Gingerbread Project. And so I hope that you have enjoyed all of these little designs. Sometimes I get these little ideas in my head and I'm like, is anybody going to even like this? But I think we've got a lot of people that have downloaded it so far. There's 5,000 people that have downloaded the little gingerbread project, so I guess some people like it. I also created the jumbo size for you guys yesterday evening, and so I went ahead and I posted those today. Tomorrow when I come home from work, I will work on the mini size and I will shrink those and get those ready for you, so they're going to be half the size. So I made double size and I'm going to make half size. So those are out there. I put them on the community tab of the YouTube channel, and I also put them on the Facebook page. So if you don't have Facebook, I always drop stuff in the community tab on the YouTube channel so that you can find stuff. Okay? All right, friends, let's get started. So I had a request. Welcome, everybody. If you're new or if you're a new subscriber, just drop your name in the chat and tell us where you are from. I see people from Oklahoma. I see people from everywhere. Gosh, I think Trinita's with us, and she's from Louisville. Let's see, who do we have? People from... Where are you from, Tina? Northern Georgia. Let's see. Oh, before we start, in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. Hi, Kathy. And I want to say hello from Minnesota. I want to say thank you to Jean, who sent me a recipe for ginger snaps. I can't wait to try that. So if you have a recipe that you want to share, when the live stream is over, if you will drop that link in, if you have a great recipe to a website that has great cookies, I'm going to try to make cream cheese, lemon, sugar cookies this year, so we shall see if they're any good. See, we have Judy from Northern California. We have Kathy from Northern Idaho. We got people from all over the place. Welcome. Hi, Connie from West Virginia. My husband's family's from Gassaway, West Virginia. So there's a soft spot in my heart for West Virginians. All right, amigos, let's get started. So at work, all week has been ugly sweater week. So please excuse me. We have like... ugly Christmas sweaters going on, and this one was my contribution today. It is the ugliest jingly llama that I could find. And so I'm going to be wearing my ugly Christmas sweaters throughout the week. So sorry about that. All right, let's flip the camera so you guys can see what's going on. So last night I showed you guys how to make this super fast and easy block. And if you notice, after I took a photograph, I noticed there was like a little ink spot. Centerville, Pennsylvania, yes. Or welcome, Tina. So if you notice, there's a little ink spot. And that got on there because I had my ink pens too close to my piece. So I just used a traditional pen and I left it open. And when I took my block and laid it over there, it left a mark. So if you know that your fabric is not going to bleed like this, you can take a little tiny bit of hand sanitizer, just regular hand sanitizer, and you can dab it on there, and it will get rid of that. And this one doesn't want to squirt. So just take a little dab of hand sanitizer right where that ink spot is, and this is good for any fabric that you know will not bleed. And you let that hand sanitizer gel sit there, and look, it will literally dissolve the ink, and you can dab that a couple of times. You can also use regular isopropyl alcohol, and you dab that up and it gets rid of that ink. And especially that's like a permanent ink, so you just dab, 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 dab. So if you ever get ink on your quilt pieces and you know that it's something that's not going to bleed, test it on a scrap piece But you can lay some of this hand sanitizer jelly. I keep it in my sewing room just for that purpose. Just alcohol based. It's 85% alcohol. And then I just rub it into that spot and I let it sit. And then it will dab right out of there. It dissolves all that ink. So if that ever happens to you, just let it soak for a minute, then take some tissue and dab it, and it'll pull and dissolve all that ink. Oh, you guys like my elf hat? Yes, you can use fabric other than felt, and today I'm going to be talking about that. Because just as you guys saw this one, I used felt. I'm going to show you today how to use plain Jane fabric and a little bit of ribbon. So today's block, and let me pull it out, is Mr. Candy Cane. So it is December 12th, and we have the candy cane on the agenda. I'm going to be appliquing the candy cane onto this fabric, and I'm going to be making it with fabric only. The supplies that I'm going to need for appliquing this with fabric are a little bit of Pellon. I'm going to be, well, actually, no, this is Heat and Bond. I usually use Pellon, but this is Heat and Bond Featherweight. And it is the lightest fusible that they have. It is glossy and bumpy on one side, which is the glue, and it has the paper side. And so the piece that you're going to need is 4 by 6. So it's 4 by 6 to make sure that your candy cane fits on there because it's kind of long. And I'm going to be shrinking my candy cane just a hair, and I'm going to put him on some red fabric. So I'm going to be using a piece of red fabric, just a scrap of red, to make my candy cane. But I could also use a scrap of felt, and I might use a scrap of felt, acrylic felt, because you can do this with either or. But I have so much red fabric floating around. Kind of ridiculous the amount of stuff I have floating around, but I love scraps. Like this is a bucket hat leftover scrap that I made, and this fits. So I save all these random scraps and I put them in a tub by color, because you never know when you're going to turn around and pull that out and go, wow, that's the perfect piece for what I'm getting ready to do, right? You just never know. And I save my random scraps. If I have larger ones, those work great, or if I have smaller ones, those work great. All right, so let's get busy doing this candy cane. I'm going to make him out of fabric, and I'm going to build a composite applique and then sew it down using a straight stitch. You guys like my tacky sweater? All right, 4 inches by 6 inches. And I'm going to show you 4 inches by 6 inches of white, 4 inches by 6 inches of Heat and Bond, and a scrap of red. First, I'm going to start by pressing, and I'm jingling all the way. I'm going to start by pressing my fabric. This fabric has been washed, so it does not have any starch in it right now, and you can see because it's kind of wobbly. And I always spritz my fabric with water. I got this sprayer at a hair beauty supply because it was only $3.99 instead of, $15 or $20 at another type of store, a craft store. So I just press it on a wooden board, and it gives me an ultra flat piece to work with. And I love this fabric. It's not a batik, but it looks kind of like a batik. It's very pretty. And so that's my bottom piece. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I fuse the entire back, because I'm going to fit my candy cane in the middle. So I want to make sure that I have a 4 by 6 piece at least fused to the back side of this. All right. And then I'm going to cut another 4 by 6 piece of this Heat and Bond. And I can eyeball it because I've been sewing for so long that I can tell you pretty consistently what 4 inches looks like, 8 inches, 10 inches. Your eyeballs just get trained after a while to do this stuff. All right, so on the wrong side of the fabric, I'm going to press this 4x6 piece. And you have to read your type of fusible. So if your type of fusible doesn't say, you need to know what it is. This one fuses at 255 degrees, which is a medium iron, right? And 15 seconds so you don't kill the glue. Trinita, of course you can share a project you're working on. And then I'm just going to let this dry for a second or cool down. And I'm going to press the opposite side. You always put the glue side on the wrong side of your fabric. And I press it on both sides to make sure that it sticks. And I let it cool. If you would like to share recipes with me or send me pictures for me to include on anything, you can always email me. And my email is super easy to remember because my email is Yvonne with an I, VONNE at jellyrollclub.com. So if you ever want to email me, ask me questions, if you're having trouble downloading anything, you just let me know because that is my email and you can reach me by email. I do read my comments and I do read my email. So if you ever need to get a hold of me or send me anything, pictures or anything, that's my email. All right, so I prepared this piece, which is the outer candy cane piece. And the next one that I'm going to prepare, and that's a lot of glue, but that works fine. The next piece that I'm going to prepare is a 4x6 piece of fabric for the candy canes. Now, if you have fusible web, that works great. But if you do not have fusible web, you can always stick your applique pieces down with Elmer's washable glue. Just cover the entire piece and then glue it down, and that also works. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to take, and now I need to draw my candy cane in reverse, right? So my candy cane has to be drawn in reverse because it's only going one direction. So I want my candy cane to hook to the left, which means I'm going to have to draw this in reverse. And the easiest way to do that is simply to take your, you don't even need a light box for this, is take your paper where this has been printed, and you're going to trace with a nice fresh Sharpie, because the Sharpie will bleed all the way through to the other side. And when it does, it gives you a reverse image. So for those of you who are thinking you have to have fancy cutting machines or anything else, you absolutely do not. And I show you how to make all of these things with the most basic of tools, because I know that we have some international friends that may not have access to all the crafty stores that we have. Or maybe you just live out in the country like I do and you don't feel like driving a bajillion miles to go find something. I show you how to do things with the most basic tools. All right, so I don't have to trace that other piece because this one will do. And when I flip it over, look what I have. I all of a sudden have my reverse image. Easy peasy. And I'm going to take that and this has been starched, right? So if you use the glue method, you have to starch your piece. And I'm going to add just a dash of starch for good measure. So I'm going to show you the method where it uses paper-based glue, but I'm also going to show you how to just use a washable glue stick, and either one work fine. So if you are working on the gingerbread project and you want to send me photos, that would be awesome. I always starch on one side and I flip to the other. And this fabric has been washed, and I'm just letting it dry with my iron. I iron in both directions. It keeps your fabric from being distorted. So I press up and I press down. And if you notice, I'm pressing white fabric, so I'm pressing it on the back side because if I have any gunky stuff on my iron, it keeps it from getting all over my fabric. So there's no yuckies on it, so it's on the back. All right, so now that I have it like this and it's starched, right, or pressed really, really well, now I can take either a pen or a pencil, either one will work, and I just use this pen, and I'm going to lightly trace on the outside of that line because I'm going to be cutting that off. And like I said, this is on the wrong side, so this is the right side of the fabric and the wrong side of the fabric, right? And so lay that on there. And I'm going to draw my lines just outside of where I want my piece to be because I'm going to cut those ink spots completely off. I don't want any of those ink spots, so I'm just drawing just like this. And if I go too fast, let me know. So I've drawn this little thing. And I'm going to get rid of all of those lines. It almost feels like paper. It's so starchy, but that's okay. I'm going to use a nice sharp pair of scissors. And I'm going to cut into the curve like this. And I'm going to trim, trim, trim. And if your scissors are too big like these, it makes it hard. Get rid of those and get you a smaller pair of scissors. It gets really hard to cut smaller pieces when you have a great big pair of scissors. So just cut it small. And it doesn't have to be perfect because cookies are not perfect. And so I'm trimming that and I'm getting rid of all of that excess. And I'm probably going to save this piece of fabric because there's just starch on it. So I could use it as a piece of waste paper. I could use it as a little piece of a leader or ender on my machine. And so I'm going to save that. And there we go. These are serrated scissors. I like them because they grab the fabric and you can get some nice clean edges. Okay. So now I have the candy cane that I want. And I'm going to lay him right here in the middle, and I can feel the edges of that, right? If you are not able to get your gingerbread boy or gingerbread girl printed or copied, let me know and I can email those to you. So why am I doing this with my fingers? I'm tracing the outline of where that paper goes so that I can lay this in here. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to use regular washable school glue, and you can applique with regular washable school glue. So if you don't have access to Steam-A-Seam or Wonder Under or Pellon or any of these paper-based, you can literally just starch it heavy like I did, and then you're going to take and you're going to glue on the wrong side of this piece of paper right here. So I'm going to get the back of this clipboard because I don't care if it gets yucky. And I'm just literally going to generously put some school glue on there. And if you have starched it like I have, then it holds its shape. And this is what you need little tweezers for in your sewing room. I can just use little tweezers. And you just try not to stretch your piece. And this works for great big pieces like this. But I just added regular washable glue. School glue. This is purple so I can see the edges. And I'm going to put it right in the middle of my piece just like that. And it sticks really, really well. I like using washable Elmer's glue for basting small placemats and things like that. And then you just hit it with the iron to let that glue dry. Just like that. So now that glue is dry. And this has fusible on this side, and then this has been glued. And look, it sticks really, really well. And now I can stitch around that candy cane. Okay? I'm going to leave the paper on the back. I'm not removing it, and I'm going to stitch all the way around. And I don't know if you can see my, let me see, I don't know if you can see my sewing machine, but I really need to get a third camera, and I'm going to try to do that. So let me put my glasses on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch around. And yes, I'm a thread licker. Sorry, friends. I'm going to stitch around. Here, let me trim that. I'm going to stitch around that candy cane. And this is my favorite. I have sewing machines that are vintage, but this, of all of the sewing machines I own, is my absolute favorite. She is a straight stitch brother. She did not cost $1 million, but I love her because she works at the speed of light, right? She's a really fast machine. I like her. I always test on a little scrap of fabric, and this is why you save those little scraps. So I always save little scraps of fabric, and I test my machine to make sure the tension is correct. And then I have the stitch length set, and this is called the leader. And then with the paper on and glued to the front, I'm going to sew this candy cane down. Whenever you build an applique in layers, you sew the layers together, and then you slowly build your applique that way from the layers downward. Okay. And so this is just going to be straight stitched all the way around. You turn it with your hand, just like this. You let the machine take it in. And this is the glue stick method for applique, and it does a good job. This is going to be a little hot pad. It's not going to take a ton of abuse because it's just going to hang there and look pretty. Yes, there are things in my house that are just to be looked at. They're not for people to wipe their hands. They're not for husbands and grandchildren to use as actual functional objects. The purpose is just to look pretty. So maybe they should make a sign for those things, like, please look and don't touch. I have a few of those things at my house. All right, so just like that, come all the way around, and off she comes. And then I stick this underneath there. And that just saves thread, and it saves time if you just keep a leader under your machine. So there we have it. I'm going to flip my camera so you can see. And look at that. Let me move this. Okay. So there you have it. Now I have my candy cane stitched through the paper, and I can remove this other paper now. So I can get rid of it. I don't need all of this. I'm going to save this red stuff because I'm going to use it to make the actual stripes on the candy cane itself. So it will get used just like that. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to trim around this candy cane, and I'm going to leave a border around the candy cane about, I'd say, a little bit smaller than 1/4 of an inch. So like a scant quarter, I'm going to come and I'm going to leave that on there. And this is all with fabric, so none of this is felt, but the same could be done with felt if you wanted to. And so now that you have it just like this, you get that candy cane shape, just like that. And all of these little bits that you see that have this fusible interfacing are now going to get glued on there to make the little lines. If you don't have heat and bond, what else can you use? I used a washable glue stick, just like I did this piece here. So you can glue your pieces together with a washable glue stick, okay? And so now I'm just going to cut these strips. And like I said, if you do not have heat and bond, you can definitely use glue sticks, or you can use the starch method. If you watch the gnome of the month, the second month, which was the February gnome, I taught people how to do the starch method using the February gnome. So I'm just going to cut little strips. And those are ready to go. And so now I'm going to take all of these little strips, and they're going to become the stripes on my candy cane, right? And I'm going to overlap them so that when I stitch this down with thread, that they're going to get caught by the stitching, right? And so I'm going to extend those strips out to that edge, just like that. And I'm going to make them slightly bigger, and then I will come back and trim them. So first I'm going to cut them out slightly bigger like this. Then what I need and you can use single strips, double strips, it doesn't really matter. Whatever size strips make you happy. If you don't have heat and bond, another thing that you could use on this is some inexpensive Offray ribbon. So if I wanted to, I could just put some of this ribbon across my candy cane, and I could double him up, and I could also glue him down. Speaking of glue, there's some on my fingers. So you could actually just take a little bit of ribbon, double him up, and make those little double stripes. And you could also glue those down with washable school glue, and you could use the liquid school glue. So not just the stick, but the washable, and you can just run it down there, stick it on, and stitch across it. So that's all you need to do with that, okay? This is what I'm going to be using to hang my little ornaments with. I have these little bows, and I have a little ribbon. So once we get further in the week, on Wednesday, I will show you all the ones I'm hanging on the tree using just inexpensive ribbon. This is from like the Dollar Tree, and this, I think I paid like $2 for it. It's 40 pieces of little bows, and so I'll show you how to do that. All right, so now that I have this little guy here, let me finish him up. And if you're doing anything like this, you're going to want to put paper or something to protect your ironing board, because what you don't want is you don't want to get sticky things all over your ironing board. So I usually have parchment paper or a little piece of cardstock that I slip underneath my pieces. And I'm simply going to come around, and I'm going to look at this candy cane, and I'm going to take and I'm going to put this little piece right here, maybe put him further back. And I'm going to go ahead and press these two guys for like 5 seconds. And see how it leaves marks? And then I'm going to trim those off, even with the edge. Because what I want is for those pieces, when I stitch this down, to get stitched down along with that. And so then I'm going to do the next two pieces and maybe go this way. And so I'm just reusing all of the little stuff that was on the edges. And now I'm going to press the next two. And about 5 seconds, and then you trim this off. And then you go in the center right there and trim around it. Use smaller scissors if you have them. It makes it easier. I'm going to find my little baby Tula pink scissors I had over here. Here they are. Use baby scissors, people. It makes it a lot easier in these tight curves. There we go. I'm just trimming around it. Careful not to hack into my stuff. And it doesn't take very long to build my little candy cane. I want little stripes going this way. And this is the same exact thing. Does anybody have any questions that you need me to answer in the chat? So far, so good. Right, you guys understand what it is that I'm doing here? If I wanted to make these curvy, like the curvy ones in the image, I could make them curvy. I could cut them curvy. You're going to give this all one big press once you're done. That's why I'm just pressing it a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and press the entire thing. Because I don't want to kill the glue before I'm done. And if you have any that lift, like I said, you can always use a little bit of washable glue. It dries clear. It works great. And just drop it in place before you sew the entire thing. If you want to add hot fix gems, they have gems that you can add to these. You can also add those hot fix gems. You can also glue things on here if you're making these out of felt. I found this stuff works really, really well, and I'm going to show you guys tomorrow night how to use this felt and foam tacky glue if you have it. I had never used it before, and so I decided to use it for this project, and let me tell you, it works great, and I do not regret spending my hard-earned money on a little bit of that stuff. I will be using it again. And so I'm just going to get another little stripe and maybe one more stripe down here at the bottom. So I'm going to put these two right together, right here, and then maybe one stripe at the bottom. Let's see, do I have any more of this? Ooh, I have just enough, right? Happy days when you have just enough to do your project. And I knew I had enough, but I wasn't sure. All right. There you go, friends. I have the little stripes on the bottom. And now what I'm going to do is on my sewing machine, I will simply satin stitch this all the way around. If you satin stitch onto quilting cotton, you're going to want to stabilize. So it's going to take me a minute to satin stitch all of that. And so I'm going to let you guys go for the night because I have a busy week ahead. As you guys know, I'm a full-time high school teacher, and so my day job comes first, and then my night job is playing on the internet and making things for you guys for the Jelly Roll Club. But there you have it, a finished little candy cane applique ready to go. I don't know, what do you guys think? Isn't he cute? I really like this little candy cane. And so now I can take this entire candy cane, and if I wanted to, I could applique him down onto some felt if I really wanted to. I could applique him down onto some felt by stitching around him, which I might. And I just need to trim him up, stitch around him on felt if I'm going to do that, just like I did my mitten. So like last night's mitten, I stitched around him, and see that ink is going away. I stitched around him and I put him on felt. This makes a great little hot pad because once I put a little bit of Insel Bright on there and I make a little hot pad, he would make a great trivet. But friends, for tonight, This is all. For tomorrow night, you can use whatever supplies you want. I don't tell you guys how to create. You decide. So if you guys want to use felt or fabric, the list of supplies is on the website. So if you want to make these out of felt, if you want to make these out of fabric, you just let me know. I'm on here every single night all the way through Thursday. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. My next live stream is tomorrow night. I'll be on here on Wednesday night and Thursday night. And then after that is New Year's Day. We launch the Table Runner of the Month. So I'm going to be posting video updates about that on YouTube. I'm going to be posting video updates and supply lists on the Facebook page. So the Table Runner of the Month starts on New Year's Day. You're going to want to pick 10 to 15 jelly roll strips, which are either black and grays or icy blues, because you want it to be kind of wintry. So our first table runner is going to be called a black tie affair, and you're going to want to make sure that you join us for that, because we're going to make a different table runner every month. I'm going to teach you guys how to do quilt as you go. I'm going to teach you guys to do applique. We're going to learn how to do precision piecing, and we're going to learn how to do self-binding, turnaround binding, and lots of other things. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us. Give it a thumbs up and a like. Share it with your friends. We're here every day. I do read your comments, so if you have questions or comments, leave those. And I'm going to get busy microsizing these little gingerbread pieces, and I will post them on the website tomorrow when I get them done. All right, everybody. You guys have a wonderful night. And I need to finish trimming this little guy, and then I'm going to get busy sewing him down. So after this, he just gets satin stitched, and he's ready to go. All right, friends, you guys have a good one. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel, okay? Let me fix this. Good night, everybody.